superheroes. I'm Pink Phoenix, coming to you from Purdue University College of Veterinary Medicine's League of Vetahumans. Today, our special guest on Vetahumans Live is Blend. Thanks for being on the show, Blend.
Thank you for having me, Pink Phoenix.
To get started, can you tell us your story?
Well, my story begins as a New Yorker. I was born and raised in Queens, New York. I am biracial. My mom is Black and my father is Colombian. And so growing up in a diverse city such as New York, I always saw a blend of different cultures and experienced different languages. I loved growing up in New York. And the one thing that I had decided to do was become a veterinarian at the age of 12. And I knew that there wasn't a lot of representation in the profession. And so my mom drove me up to Yonkers one day to meet two Black men who were veterinarians. And that changed my life. I really wanted to do veterinary medicine because I got to see them do surgery and be in appointments. And that's what I wanted to do. And so even when I got back to Queens, it was hard to find mentorship. But I still worked at some hospitals and I decided to attend Tuskegee University for undergrad. And I think that that was what solidified the dream for me, to be able to see people that look like me and to be taught by professors that were veterinarians and, PhDs. They really inspired me and my classmates and motivated us to continue veterinary medicine. So I went to Cornell, I became a veterinarian, and I've been practicing small animal medicine for about 16 years. And in that time, I've done a lot of mentorship and trying to increase the representation and pipeline for students of color. And within the last few years, I realized that a lot of the things that I see in our pipeline development is when we get on the other side in veterinary medicine, there's a culture issue that we deal with. And a lot of times people don't feel like they belong in the veterinary spaces. And I've had that lived experience in my career and I wanted to change the narrative. And so that is why I decided to start a company and I named it Blend Vet Med. And I am creating a veterinary hospital certification program named Blend. And I am hoping to have a pilot program by Q3 so that I can actually get into hospitals and test my training material and really see the impact that it can have on changing culture in our profession.
That is outstanding. Thank you. And I want to talk more about Blend in a little bit.
Yes.
But first, I have to ask, are you the kind of veterinarian that 12-year-old Blend dreamed of being?
I believe I am. I know that 12-year-old Blend wanted to save all the stray animals that she saw and wanted to make sure that people, found value in veterinary medicine and, in the education and the treatment, because that's so much of what I do, the client education part of it. And so I think my mom was a teacher, and I think I did inherit that part of wanting to make sure my clients were educated in the process. And so I think 12-year-old Niccole would be very happy with how I turned out. And I think she would also be a little surprised to see that I pivoted from, private practice. But I think remembering what 12-year-old Niccole went through, not seeing herself in the profession, I think she would be really proud of me.
I think she would too. Doing some amazing things. And that's what I'd like to hear more about next. You have this brand new adventure with Blend and you're going all in. Can you tell us about, you hinted a little bit about how it came about, but why is this so important for our profession right now?
For me, I took a look at my career. I took a look at moments where I felt really disconnected in my workplaces, disengaged with veterinary medicine, didn't want to mentor. And I realized a lot of it had to do with me not being able to be who I was, and just being a person of color in, a homogenous hospital. Sometimes you can't be who you are. You can't talk the way you want to talk or say the things that you would normally say around family and friends when you're comfortable. And that's hard sometimes. And sometimes it's really hard with what's going on in the world to separate who you are, what's going on in the world, and then coming into a place where you can't be who you want to be. And so I wanted to change that. And that is why I created Blend. And Blend is not an acronym, it actually stands for the pillars of the program. So B is building relationships. So, how do we engage with the communities that we serve? The L is for leadership, understanding that leadership plays a pivotal role in creating and fostering strong teams, building them on trust, and understanding the business case behind DEI. E stands for equity and also educational resources. I want to be able to provide hospitals with resources from reputable sources that they can, kind of expand upon their knowledge. And equity, understanding, that we need to meet people where they are and provide them with their individualized needs, and for navigating the unknown, which was really important to me because I think that this is something that we don't do. We don't talk it out. We don't, come together as a hospital, or team to kind of talk about conflicts, or we just kind of try to sweep them under the rug. And I think it festers an environment where, it becomes toxic. And so wanted to unpack, conflict resolution. What does allyship look like? What do we do when we hear microaggressions in the treatment room? And then D stands for diversity, inclusion, and belonging. How do we create, safe spaces in our hospital environments where our employees feel like they can come to work, be who they want to be, and then bring that sort of environment for our clients.
This is wonderful. I love
Well,
hearing about Blend, and I love your passion.
yes, and that's what fuels me, honestly. Like when I'm at home at night after the kids go to sleep and I turn on my computer, I just think about what what would I have wanted coming straight out of school? What would I have needed? And also, what do I want to see? What would have made me love to come to work in the times where I didn't want to go to work? And it always came down to the environments that I was working in. And that is why I just feel like, you know, we need to come up with a blueprint of what works. And that is what I'm hoping Blend does. So try to not to create a blueprint that is a cookie cutter for hospitals, but for hospitals to understand the context of what it takes to bring inclusion and belonging into their workplaces, and then creating their own blueprint that works for them. Like, that's my goal. And that's the legacy I hope to be able to leave behind.
For all the veterinary professionals who are listening, do you have one recommendation, one action item that they could start putting in place today to help their team members feel a sense of belonging so they could bring their whole selves to work?
I think it all boils down to communication. I think you got to get to know your team and build those relationships, because when you have a connection with your team because you've actually, shared portions of yourself or got to know them, then you have this level of trust so that when things happen day to day, because veterinary medicine is stressful, and sometimes, we say things that we don't mean to, or we're too short with each other as we're working. But when there's that foundation of a connection, because you've built that through communication, that person knows, like, she didn't really mean it like that. Like, we're just busy in this moment. And you get through things so much better. And so I think talking it out was really important for me. It was something that I had to put into use more so with the pandemic and being curbside, and basically creating this bubble with your team where, you didn't engage with the clients as they did. And so you really had to lean on them to be your spokesperson, but also convey what the client's emotions were. And I made sure to also check in with them, with my team, because I thought it was important with everything that was going on with the uncertainty of the pandemic, that we got back to basics, which was learning who we were. And it helped us so that when people were having bad days, they could come to work and still have that bad day. But I remember one time one of my tech receptionists said, I was having a really bad day, but I knew that I just needed to come to work, and that is what we seek. When that to me was so validating, because it was like so many times when we wake up on the wrong foot, we're just like, I don't want to do anything but stay in this bed. I don't want to see anybody, talk to anybody, anything. And the fact that she still wanted to come to work meant that we were doing something right.
That's a wonderful story, and nice that the workplace was a place where she could find peace
Yeah. Yeah.
and be herself.
I mean, I believe in that. I mean, if we're going to spend 10 to 12 hours at a place, We spend more time with our coworkers than we do our family. And so I think we need to come to work to, to have fun, get it done, but, have those relationships for sure.
And that's why I'm at Purdue Veterinary Medicine. I came out here in '89 as a student and I stayed, and it's all about the people.
Such an impactful statement. I mean, it speaks to Purdue for sure.
So we've talked about the veterinary team. What can we do to make our clients feel a sense of belonging so they're comfortable when they come in and feel safe in sharing what's going on with their family members so we can give their animal the best care?
I think there's a lot of things that we can do, and it's the first place that I started off with was trying to create a hospital that reflects the demographics of the people that we see. When I've practiced in New York City and Houston, and been leaders in both hospital settings, and I always walked into hospitals prior to leading them to where nobody looked like me. And I wanted to change that because when I was younger, my grandparents didn't speak English, fluently. And so as a 6 year old child, I would go with them to the store, and they could not, express what they needed sometimes in department stores. And then they would try to get me, the little 6 year old, to try to have a conversation with an adult. And I remember, the staff not really taking me seriously, and definitely not taking them seriously because of the language barrier. And I carry that with me, and I make sure that my staff reflects, the barriers that we could potentially have, including language. And since I've worked in, cities that are heavily Latino, I've made sure that I have at least 1 to 2 staff members that are fluent in Spanish. I speak great Spanglish, and so I think that is helpful when we try to speak Spanish. But I think diversity in your staff and seeking that out is important for your clients. And also, when you do have, because I cannot have a staff that speaks every single language that exists, right? But just yesterday, I did a surgery on a pet, and that dog needs to stay still. And the client only spoke Mandarin Chinese, and I was trying to explain to her on the phone, how important it was for her dog to rest. And she said, I don't understand you. Can you call my friend? And the friend and I never connected. So when they came to pick up, I asked my technician, I said, go ask them what language, because I didn't know prior to. I said, well, go ask what language they would want me to create discharge instructions in. And I basically took everything that I wrote and went on Google Translate and translated it into, Mandarin Chinese. And, those little things matter, right? Because at the end of the day, we want our clients to be compliant, but they have to understand us. And we have to understand that when there's barriers, whether they be cultural or language barriers or socioeconomic barriers, that we, not only try to work with our clients, but also, hire staff that are also going to be just as helpful in, carrying those relationships too. And that's what creates the culture that they feel like they can come in and explain, anything. I've had clients that have not been comfortable historically talking to the vet about their finances, but if they see a staff that looks like them, they'll say, we're out of work, we're here because we need an answer, but we don't really have a lot of money, but we want to know the answer. And I think that that's important, to have staff that clients feel comfortable sharing that with.
And that's wonderful. And I would say those aren't little things, those are huge things. What a big difference that you can make by taking the time to show that you truly care.
Yeah. And it doesn't cost a lot. You need a printer and a laptop to translate anything. But, and then if you hire staff, like, there's so much value that they feel, in being able to contribute to, the day-to-day interaction with clients.
Okay, you're starting this huge, important initiative. What are all the moving parts? How are you approaching this? There has to be so many pieces that you're putting together and new skills that you have to learn.
Yeah, you're catching me on a good day. On a good day, I say one day at a time, Niccole, or blend, one day at a time. You can get it done, make the plan and just execute it. You're only one person. And, basically just take it one day at a time. Now, other days I'm like, oh my goodness, what did I do? This is too much. But for me, it is a lot of moving parts because it's, I've been practicing for 16 years, and now to take that knowledge and then, create this program, that part to me wasn't as challenging, but now creating and making it into a business and learning the technical side of it and the business side of it and coming up with pitches and sponsors, and those are things that have not been my lived experience for the last 16 years, and it's very exciting, and I love learning, and so I think that I enjoy being the student in it, but I also am not very patient. I'm working on that, and so I know that there's a process that I have to embrace and be patient with, and that's what I'm teaching myself daily, and so that's where I'm at. But I've been very grateful to have met just amazing people in this profession that have offered me their own, network or advice, or just having that connection where I could call them when I'm having moments. That's priceless. And we have some amazing people in our profession that I can lean on. And then I've also been leaning on people that are not in our profession, because I think that, getting that diverse perspective from other, industries also helps us as helps me with Blend, but also our profession, from getting that perspective.
I completely agree. You have to look outside the profession if we're going to grow our profession.
Exactly.
So, what are some of the areas, what are other professions you've been looking into and learning from?
Well, definitely education, because a lot of what we do to get these students in the pipeline require getting involved with educators, and learning how do we introduce this type of material to students. What can we do as a profession in every group of the pipeline to help keep their interest and engagement. Talking in the business world of how do you grow a company, how do you start, what's the ROI, all of those things, how to make a business plan. These are the business people I'm thinking of. Then there's law, thinking about lawyers, like all of those things, and even just different pathways within veterinary medicine. We have Blend has the capability of crossing into multiple sectors within vet med, and although my lived experience has just been in private practice, I've had conversations with shelters, and my younger sister's a veterinarian, and she's in the shelter industry, and so hearing her perspective of ways that Blend can be applicable in her sector, and having come out of vet school 16 years ago, while not recent, I still remember academia and what I looked for, and thinking about, growing Blend in that pathway. So there's a lot of synergies, and I'm using this time to embrace, all of the networking and, feedback that I've been given, and trying to continue this project I have.
Well, I absolutely love everything that you're doing. You have the pitch down. I get excited every time I hear you talking about Blend.
Thank
And
you.
I am 100% confident you're going to get this done and be very successful.
I've come far in a year, and I think that that's what I've been trying to give myself grace in, is that, with from last year to this year, the amount of progress I've made is just wow. So I'm so hopeful of what kind of conversation we could be having in 2023, Pink Phoenix.
I can't wait to have you back on the show. When 12-year-old Blend dreamed of being a veterinarian, what did you think being a veterinarian would be like compared to what it's really like?
So when 12-year-old Niccole said she wanted to be a vet, I really thought it was all about the animals. Like it's about taking care of the animals, where I'm learning diseases so that I can make the animals better. But now, as a veterinarian, you have to understand that the people that own the animals are everything. They're like the critical link to making sure the animal is better. And that is something that I constantly tell children that I mentor. I'm like, please understand that while we are definitely a profession about animals, we are very, very people oriented. If you're trying to do my, genre of veterinary medicine in private practice, and that has been definitely a learning curve, because you have to, every 15 to 20 minutes, you're walking into another exam room in embracing another set of clients, trying to figure out in 3 to 4 minutes what's the angle, what do you have to, what do you need to say, what's the connection, and that's a skill set that we don't learn in school. It's something that we learn in practicing, and it is very much a practice. And every day I learn something new. And certainly, current events sometimes also change the ebbs and flow of practice. And the pandemic has definitely been eye-opening of all of the things that veterinarians do as far as handling people, besides educators, financial planners, all of those things. We play a huge role in our client relationships in that regard. So definitely people is what the missing link is.
I want to hear more about this, especially for our veterinarians who are just getting started. You walk into the exam room, you have 3 minutes to connect with your client and get to know them. What do you do? What's your pattern?
So usually, and I'm like zoning off. So I know you guys can't see me, but I'm zoning off because I'm gonna pretend I'm there. But usually when I walk into a room, I introduce myself. I sometimes will take a look at what they're wearing and try to see if there's a connection that I can make with them. Now I practice in Texas, so whenever I see anybody from the north, I'm like, hey. I see that, even though Boston and New York, we're not always the best of friends, but if I see a Boston hat, I'm like, hey, Northeasterner kind of thing. So I try to find that way to connect with them. Sometimes if they have children, I definitely gravitate to children in the room. I think now more so because I'm a mom, and I know that usually parents are so like frustrated about their children being with them in the room. They're worried about their pet, and their kid is asking them all these questions. And so a lot of times I try to bring the kid into the appointment. And that's usually what makes the client more relaxed and realizing that this is going to be a good experience for us all. I also give the kids usually a coloring book. I don't know if you know Vets of All Colors, but I print out that coloring book and I'll send it home with the kids. But I usually try to find a way to connect with them. I'll ask them, why did you name your pet this name? Just while I'm examining the pet, I'm usually doing that. If it's a scared dog or cat, then I usually just focus on the connection with the client first and then pivot to the animal. Because then if we have that trust, then if the appointment has to get a little bit crazy because the pet is aggressive, then they're usually more trusting of me, not like, oh, you're just going to take my pet out in the back. So it's really about laying those layers of trust when you walk in the room, and you really only have 2 to 3 minutes to do that. And then after you examine the pet, and you figure out what you need to do, usually that's when I kind of have to break it down. Sometimes the appointments, if the pet is sick in multiple ways, has multi-systemic disease processes, you have to really break it down for them. And I always leave them off with client education handouts because they'd only remember half, if not that, of what you say. So that's my usual routine. And my staff will sometimes say I talk too much, and I do. But I think at the end, I feel like the client walks away finding value in that appointment. And even for the ones that waited, I think it's worth the wait, for them to see that. So
That's outstanding. Thank you. Excellent advice. What was your best day ever as a vet so far?
I think that's a really hard question for me because I've had so many great days as a vet, and sometimes they have to do with different reasons. Like sometimes they have to do with, diagnosing something that you never thought you would diagnose before, and you're like, I got it, and it's something that you can treat, and the client's going to be happier, and like those are great days. Those are like my nerd days, right? And then there's some days where you get a client that expresses gratitude, and it comes from a strange place, and you're just like, you were thrown off by it, like sometimes I'm having one of those days, and then you get something like, I got a card in the mail one time from a client that I translated allergy information for, and she gave me a card to say, thank you, he's doing so much better. And it was like, because she couldn't communicate that by calling me, she sent me a card. And I was like, I still have it, like those were the little things. So that's a good day. And then there's days where, you just it's a hard day at work and there's tons of appointments and you're just grinding through with your staff, but you're having fun. You're listening to music. And then, like, that's another good day. So it's like, I think that when I look at my career and I think of all of the roles I've played, I can definitely just pick all of those as my good days because that's what makes your career, those days.
So, take home message: veterinary medicine is the best job ever.
It is fun. You got to find your tribe. It's for sure. And that's what makes it fun. I've been lucky to have a good tribe.
So, that's a perfect segue. You're doing so much stuff within the profession. What do you do outside for fun?
Well, I'm a mom of two kids. And so they keep me very busy. They're 7 and, well, almost 7 and almost 4. And so they're at that age where they're just everywhere and so many questions. So they definitely keep me on my toes. I enjoy my children. I enjoy hanging out with my husband. We binge watch shows all the time, and I'm trying to get him onto a new show right now. So we'll see if I win. I traveling. I'm looking forward to getting back into that now that the pandemic is kind of easing up. I love the beach, and so my goal is to get back to it. I don't get to experience it as much as I did when I lived in New York, so that's my happy place. And just being around my friends and family, like just being intentional about reconnecting outside of Zoom and phone, in person. So hopefully that can be a combination of like travel, friends, and family, like kind of mushing everything together. And then I'm very much love football, so that's my thing. We watch football every Sunday.
I love it. All right, as we get close to wrapping this up, what inspirational message do you have for aspiring veterinarians who are listening?
I think I want to let them know that veterinary medicine has so many different pathways, and you are able to make any pathway your own. I think it's being true to who you are and to what you want to do, and realizing that sometimes you may be in spaces where you're around people that want to do it with you, and sometimes you may be in spaces that you're the only one pushing forward, or you're the only one that looks like you, and to try to find that place of knowing that somebody's in another circle doing it with you, like you're not alone in that, and just keep pushing through. And that is, to me, finding your passion in anything is the gift. And I think I spent my whole career trying to figure out what my niche in veterinary medicine was going to be. And I realized that it had everything to do with my journey into veterinary medicine. And that is why Blend is so important to me, and why I'm hopeful for what it can do in the next 3 to 5 years, if not sooner.
It's just beautiful because with Blend, you're going to help everybody develop their own gifts
That is the goal.
and transform our profession.
That would be the greatest legacy.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You can learn about other League of VetaHumans superheroes at vetahumans.org. If you like this episode, please subscribe, rate, and share it with your friends. And remember, use your powers for good.